Hello, folks. This is Paul Gordon Collier. Welcome to this week's edition of Freeqo Reports. We have finally caught a broadcast of Freeqo on the shortwave that was, once again, directed at what Freeqo calls his zombie hunters. In this broadcast, Freeqo addresses how the zombie hunters should approach the Syrian refugee debate currently going on in America. So without further ado, we give you Freeqo.
The zombie generals have a new toy to play with that once again presents a win-win proposition. This time it involves the import of Syrian refugees. What the zombie generals have managed to do is to agitate fear on one side and unconditional, quote-unquote, love on the other side. On the one hand, the fear of suicide bombers and mass shooters is causing people a right to accept, even demand, greater control by the federal government over ISIS boogeymen. On the other hand, the desire to see the perceived dominant race, the middle-class Christian white man, diluted even further, is leading those on the left to accept unfettered, unchecked importations of people, some of which might actually be ISIS men. From the zombie general's perspective, they get to move on greater control over the masses through the imposition of greater security power for the state, while also being able to import chaos that could lead to justification of even greater extension of security power for the state. One need not look any further than what happened to France to see how this scenario might work out for the zombie generals in America. Since the Paris attacks, a state of emergency has been declared, giving the state supernatural power to go into your home without cause. Actually, it gives the state almost unchecked power to poke, prod, secure, arrest, imprison anyone they deem to be a threat to the good of society. One could be tempted to aggressively pursue a nationalistic tactic, demanding no immigration from these refugees. But even this, even if you don't advocate for greater state security power, helps the zombie generals and their effort to whip up nationalistic fervor. Nationalism is a favorite tool of the zombie generals, who like to use nationalism to allow them to send your sons and daughters off to die in wars that will ostensibly make your nationalistic idol, whatever state you happen to be worshipping at the time, even more powerful and kick butt than it ever was before. Well, I have a right response for my zombie hunters. Do not enable the state by calling for permission for the state to import and fund the refugees, but also do not help the state by calling for closed borders, which also empowers the state to decide who can come in and who cannot. A power which might be used to shut out people you might actually want to be allowed to come in the future. Rather call for open borders in principle, but stand against government-subsidized migration. Don't fear the ISIS boogeyman, or if you do, at least don't call on the state to protect you. Rather, prepare yourself and your family to meet any threats that might arise. Remember, you have a much better chance of being wiped out by lightning than you do of being a victim of a terrorist attack. You will never be able to protect yourself from all potential risks to your life and to your family's life, but you can prepare yourself for many of them. Certainly, a few concealed carriers that knew what they were doing would have quickly stopped the slaughter in Paris, for instance, and you wouldn't need to surrender your sovereignty, your privacy, your liberty to do so. Be consistent in your liberty. Promote open borders. Do not promote government-subsidized borders. Promote self and free association security. Do not promote empowering government security. That is all, zombie hunters.
Well, that's certainly an interesting perspective. And we do apologize that we did not get as clean a recording of Freeqo as we'd like, but all things considered, that's a pretty clean recording based on some of the other efforts that we've had. So what say you? Is Freeqo right? Is this the right balanced approach for lovers of liberty, or is he missing something? Be sure you comment your thoughts or email us at editor@freeqo.com. And also be sure to listen to Disassociation Nation on fprnradio.com on Friday p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear Niz, Nick, and Paul further dissect this week's edition of Freeqo Reports. And if you're listening to Disassociation Nation now, you will have the pleasure of hearing us right after I say